Hi, welcome to Learning with Miss S. Today we are going to work on language arts. Our topic is reading, literature, and writing. We are going to focus on characters, setting, and events. Our standard for today is RL.K.3. With prompting and support, identify characters, setting, and major events in a story. Our objective is students will identify the characters, setting, and events in Little Red Riding Hood. We are learning about parts of a story. Who is in the story, called the characters, where the story happens, the setting, and what happens in the story, events. Listen while I read the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a small village next to the forest. She was a friendly, sweet girl. Whenever the girl went out, she wore a red riding cloak, and so everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Early one morning, she asked her mother if she could go visit her grandmother. Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother lived on the other side of the forest. Her mother told her she could go and she could take a basket of food to her grandmother. Her mother packed the basket with food, and Little Red Riding put on her red cloak so she could walk to her grandmother's house. Little Red Riding Hood's mother gave her the basket and reminded her to be careful on the walk. She said, "Do not talk to strangers and do not stop until you get to grandmother's house." Little Red Riding Hood said, "I'll be careful," and started on her way. While Little Red Riding Hood was walking through the woods, she saw some pretty flowers. She stopped to pick some flowers for her grandmother and watched the butterflies fly around her. While she was still picking the flowers, she was startled by someone coming from behind a tree. A wolf appeared and said to her in a friendly voice, "What are you doing in the woods by yourself?" "I'm on my way to see my grandmother," she said. Suddenly, she realized she was talking to a stranger and that she had told Mother she wouldn't stop on her way to her grandmother. Little Red Riding Hood rushed off to see her grandmother. Meanwhile, the wolf took a shortcut so he could get to grandmother's house first. He knocked on the door, and grandmother opened the door thinking it was Little Red Riding Hood. As soon as she saw the wolf, she quickly hid in a cupboard. The wolf came in the house and looked around for something to wear. He put on one of grandmother's nightgown and lace nightcap. The wolf got into grandmother's bed and covered everything but his head with blankets. A little bit later, Little Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf called, "Come in." When Little Red Riding Hood went into the house, she could hardly recognize her grandmother. The wolf was hidden under the covers except for his head. Little Red Riding Hood said, "What big eyes you have." The wolf replied, "All the better to see you with." Little Red Riding Hood said, "What big ears you have." The wolf replied, "All the better to hear you with." Little Red Riding Hood said, "What big teeth you have." The wolf replied, "All the better to eat you with, my dear." Little Red Riding Hood realized it was the wolf and not her grandmother. She screamed and ran out of the house. Little Red Riding Hood ran as fast as she could to find help. She found a woodsman nearby and brought him back to grandmother's house. The woodsman rushed into the house and chased the wolf away. Grandmother came out of hiding and hugged Little Red Riding Hood. When Little Red Riding Hood told her grandmother that she had talked to the wolf in the woods, her grandmother told her, "Remember, never talk to strangers." The end. Today, we will draw pictures and write words to tell about the character, setting, and events in Little Red Riding Hood. Open your Standards Plus Language Arts book to page 45. Remember, it's our pink book that says Language Arts. 45, a 4 and a 5. 45, the 4 comes first, and then the 5. 45, a 4 and a 5. Your book should look just like mine. It says Little Red Riding Hood. We will use this page to record what we know about the characters, setting, and events in the story. Who are the characters in the story? Characters. This is where you will draw pictures and write words to show who the characters are. Next, you have a place to write about the setting in the story. Setting. What should you draw here? Finally, this row is for events in the story. I would like you to draw a picture or pictures about one or more of the events in the story. You may write words too. Remember, the events are the things that happen to the character. Today, you drew pictures and wrote words to tell about the characters, setting, and events in Little Red Riding Hood. Join us next time. Bye.